I live in a house of ice. I live in a house of ice. I live in a house of ice. Well, it is a strange and beautiful place. The walls look like they are made of thick, blue glass. When the light comes through, it fills the room with a soft, watery glow. The roof above me is a solid sheet of ice, strong and clear. Even the windows are frozen, with delicate patterns of frost spreading across them like tiny white ferns. I sit on the floor, pulling my knees close to my chest. I have a thick sweater on. It is a dark blue color, and the wool is soft against my skin. The sweater keeps my arms warm, the sweater keeps my chest warm, but the cold finds other ways in. My feet are very cold. When I breathe out, I can see the air leave my mouth in a small white cloud that hangs in the air for a moment before it disappears. The cold is a constant presence here. It seems to rise up from the floor, a solid sheet of ice that never melts. The cold seeps from the walls, making them feel smooth and hard to the touch. Even the air itself feels thin and chilly. The house is not silent. It makes its own quiet sounds, the sounds of ice settling and shifting. Sometimes, a long, thin crack will appear in a wall, and it makes a sound like a high, faint singing. It is as if the house is humming to itself, a slow and ancient song. The wind pushes against the outside, and the cracks seem to sing a little louder, a chorus of tiny, sharp notes that only I can hear. I have been here for what feels like a long time. The world outside the ice house seems very far away. Here, inside, time moves differently. It moves with the slow pace of the cold. My movements are slow too. When I stand up, my joints feel stiff. When I walk from one side of the small room to the other, my feet make no sound on the icy floor. It is like walking on a frozen pond. I spend most of my time sitting still, trying to hold on to the little bit of warmth my body makes. The sweater is my only real comfort against the chill that is everywhere, in the air I breathe and the ground beneath me. It is a small island of warmth in a sea of unending cold. Water falls from the roof. It is not a leak, but a slow and steady rhythm. The water is incredibly cold, colder than any water I have ever felt. Each drop gathers slowly on the icy ceiling, hanging there for a long moment like a tiny clear jewel. Then, it lets go. It falls through the still air and lands on the floor below. Plink! The sound is small and clear. Plink. It is a kind of music, the only music the house makes besides its own humming. The drops fall in the same spot, one after another, creating a small, shallow puddle on the ice floor. The puddle does not grow, because the water freezes again almost as soon as it lands. The puddles look like small, dark mirrors scattered across the floor. They reflect the blue light from the walls in distorted shapes. I reach out a finger and touch the surface of one. The water is so cold it feels sharp, like touching a needle. For a moment, my fingertip goes completely numb, and I pull it back quickly, tucking it into my palm to warm it up. The drops continue to fall, unbothered. Plink, plink, plink. The sound is both calming and unsettling. It is a constant reminder of the cold, a steady drumbeat marking the slow passage of time in my ice house. Outside, a different kind of water is falling. A cold rain has started. The sky has turned a heavy, uniform gray, and it presses down on the world. This rain is not the warm, life-giving rain of summer. It is a winter rain, each drop like a tiny shard of ice. I can hear it tapping against the roof and walls of my house. It is a softer, more muffled sound than the dripping inside, like 1,000 tiny fingers drumming gently on my frozen shell. The windows are small and round, like the portholes on a ship. I press my face against one of them to see outside. The ice is smooth and cold against my cheek, against my nose. My warm breath instantly fogs the surface, creating a small, white circle that blocks my view. I have to wipe it away with the sleeve of my sweater to see clearly again. Through the frozen glass, The world looks soft and muted. The trees in the distance are bare, their branches coated in a thin layer of ice that makes them shine. They look like they are made of glass. The entire world seems to be holding its breath, perfectly still and quiet under the gray sky. It is a picture with no people in it. The rain continues to fall outside. It makes thin, watery lines on the window. The lines run down the ice, moving like slow, crooked rivers. I watch them, mesmerized by their slow journey. They distort the view, making the frozen trees outside bend and shimmer. The world through the window is a beautiful but lonely place. There is no movement out there, except for the falling rain and the wind that I can hear but not see. The colors are all washed out. The gray of the sky, the white of the ice on the branches, the dark, wet brown of the tree trunks. It is a quiet world, painted in shades of cold. I move from my spot on the floor. My sweater makes a soft rubbing sound against my skin as I crawl over to the window. The air in the house feels thin and sharp in my lungs. I wrap my arms around my knees, trying to make myself smaller, trying to save every bit of warmth. The sound of the water dropping from the ceiling is closer now, right behind my head. Plink, plink. The sound is so clear and precise. I close my eyes for a moment. I try to imagine something different. I imagine a small fire crackling in a fireplace. Bright orange light, dancing and flickering. Yellow light, dancing and flickering. I imagine holding my hands out to it, feeling the warmth spread through my fingers into my palms. The thought is small, just a little picture in my mind. But it is a warm thought. It makes my heart feel a little less heavy. It makes my chest feel a little less tight. I open my eyes again and look back out the window. The cold world is still there. Nothing has changed. The rain still falls. The trees are still frozen. But for a moment, the image of the fire stays with me. I find a small blanket tucked into a corner. I had forgotten it was there. It is thin, made of old wool, but it is something. I pull it out and wrap it around my legs. The blanket is cold at first, but slowly, it starts to trap the small amount of heat coming from my body. I can feel a tiny bit of warmth begin to gather around my toes. A gentle creeping of comfort moves up my legs. The sensation is so small, but it feels wonderful. I pull the blanket tighter. I think about other small things that can make warmth. A cup of hot soup held in two hands, a thick, knitted hat pulled down over my ears, singing a funny song out loud, my mother's hands, warm and soft. These thoughts are like the blanket. They are thin, but they hold a little bit of heat. As night begins to fall, the house grows darker. The blue of the ice walls deepens into a dark sapphire color. The dripping from the ceiling slows, plink, plink. The music of the house becomes softer, quieter, a lullaby. I pull the collar of my sweater up to my chin and tuck my nose inside the soft wool. I breathe slowly, in and out, listening to the house settling, its faint humming like a deep, sleeping breath. The cold is still there, but it feels less lonely in the dark. I let my eyes close. In the moments just before I fall asleep, I dream of a light, a small, steady flame, like a candle. It is close by, its glow warm and golden. It does not push the cold away, but it exists alongside it. The light feels like hope, a small promise in the deep, quiet cold. And as I drift off to sleep in my house of ice, I hold on to that small, warm light. It is enough.